The starting point is, what does that mean for Coinbase's business? How does this complicate things for them going forward?
Well, I think a couple things are interesting here, Ed. You have them clearing the record here and seeing them as a qualified custodian, even under these new proposed rules, that it's still unclear on how long they would take to become real rules, given the feedback that they're getting overall. Remember, even though you have Coinbase here kind of applauding certain parts of this process here, Coinbase has such a nuanced relationship with the SEC. They applaud certain parts of this rulemaking process, but remember, there are other things that they heavily dispute, such as some things that the SEC feels about staking. Even when it comes to this qualified custodian issue, remember, Coinbase is one. You have other members of the crypto community a little more concerned. Jake Chervinsky, for example, of the Blockchain Association, voicing his frustrations online about how these proposed changes could violate the SEC's mission by making investors less safe and discouraging capital formation. And I have to say, when you look at the other SEC commissioners that have weighed in, there are a number that have also voiced concerns about the amount of qualified custodians. What happens outside of Coinbase in this industry? Remember, both because Bitcoin was up over the 24-hour period, as well as some positive, frankly, regulatory news for Coinbase, you saw the shares just completely ripping today. But again, there are some things on the sidelines, like the staking issue, which remains to be unresolved.
Let's go outside the world of Coinbase, largely because my husband's a manager over there, so I don't want to talk about it too much. But I'm interested in your world outside. What are the ripple effects? What is, crypto at large reading into the SEC crackdown? Where do the ripple effects go?
Well, outside of Coinbase, like I was saying, the reason this matters so much is because we've reported a couple of times this week that the SEC and other regulators have largely been whispering to the rest of the financial industry, saying that, listen, your relationship to crypto matters to you, and by the way, could open you up to more liabilities. So if you're a hedge fund, you have to worry about how your assets are custodied. It's interesting because let's see how the next 12 months play out, because does that force these hedge funds like a Brevin Howard or others to start working with the likes of a Coinbase more? What happens to something like BNY Mellon? You have, for example, just a couple of days ago, Brian Armstrong talking about how institutional interest has grown in the space, even despite some of the crypto winter issues. But what happens as the SEC brings down a stronger arm on the industry? Do the traditional players start to get a little spooked is the main question.
And to take it full circle back to why the SEC is so rankled about crypto and why, in many ways, people are saying they're acting with hindsight, is because of what happened with FTX. Bring us up to speed with what's happening with the founder of FTX. Sam Bankman-Fried has been all over the press today.
What a day. So this has been weeks where we knew that Sam Bankman-Fried, as well as his lawyers, have been trying to keep the name of the guarantors behind this really record-setting bail package, this bond, the $250 million bond, secret. But now we have the judge really saying that this doesn't apply to these particular instances because these guarantors decided to be involved in such a public case. These are two people that are very closely related to the parents of Sam Bankman-Fried. Remember, this is Barbara Fried and Joseph Bankman, who have been Stanford law professors. Remember, this is one of the people involved in the guarantor program here is Larry Kramer, who was a Stanford law dean, a legal historian alongside Barbara Fried for a very long time. And if you take a look at the statement here, really, he makes it very personal. He has nothing to say about the legal matter itself, but his family has faced a harrowing battle with cancer, he says, and the Bankman-Fried family has been the truest of friends. And so this is a very personal matter for him to show up for the Bankman-Fried family in their time of need. According to his statement provided to us on Wednesday, tomorrow, Thursday, Sam Bankman-Fried does face court in New York again to discuss his bail conditions. Remember, there have been a lot of questions about how he's been communicating with people via Signal and other means in the course of his house arrest here, where he is living with his family on essentially what is land and property owned ultimately by Stanford as well.